start recording now.
Hey guys, I'm down here at Jimboomba with Jon Raven, our mayor of Logan City, and look, there's a lot of shit going on in our community. I'm very, very concerned about it, and this is not a paid gig. I certainly don't owe Jon any favors.
No, definitely not.
So my intention of doing this was to just I want to have a chat with you in person, as you know I do. And I just thought maybe it's a good idea to share that chat with the rest of the community, just to provide some clarity and perspective around what's going on with this flood mapping. So firstly, big shit fight here on Tuesday night. A lot of people very angry. What's happened since Tuesday night?
So Tuesday night, I know people were passionate and they gave us some really raw feedback. I wanted to hear what people were experiencing, what they were worried about, and I wanted them to give it to me raw, because that's the best way to hear it. So since Tuesday, lots of meetings. The next morning, woke up at 4 a.m. and sent some text messages to the CEO going, "Oi, we need a meeting with the directors. I want to talk to the flood guys. I want to talk to the planning guys." And we just laid out what the community had said and the big points that I think we could start working on, like the low-hanging fruit. And said, "What's the plan from here?" He said, "Let's hold another meeting in the afternoon. We'll come back to you with what the next steps are." So that's where we're at too. And that was just day one. Since then, heaps of feedback coming in from the community. Thank you to everyone who's been doing that. Really great examples of where insurance companies are totally flogging people. They're putting them up 300% when they're in the 1 in 2,000 floodplain. You can't tell me that's not gouging. So thank you to everyone who's been sharing those stories. But more importantly, there's more and more examples of where they think the flood maps are inaccurate. That's really helpful to me, because then I can go, "Hey, show us your property, I have a look at it," and then I go straight to the flood guys and go, "Explain to me how this is right. If this was a flood in 2022, here's a photo that person has taken from their backyard at the peak, and it's about 7 meters behind it that our map says where the floodwater went to." And that's the stuff I'm trying to target.
And look, this is what it's all about. It's about accuracy. It's about realistic information. I mean, it's bordering on a conspiracy theory, really.
Yes, I've seen it.
Sorry.
No, I've seen it. I've seen it.
I'm just, So, and of course, the elephant in the room, which I'm good at asking the hard questions. Everybody knows that.
You love it. You love it.
You voted for this.
Yes.
You've not made any secret about that.
That's right.
So, first of all, I want you to talk about why you voted for it. We spoke about that, and that helped me process, like a lot of things. The other thing is, the question on everybody's mind, which nobody's probably asking you except for me. How can we trust you if you voted for this? It's like, well, hang on a minute. Here's this dude that helped fuck things up, and now we've got to trust him to fix it.
So I'll start with the trust, and then I'll go back to the why. So I feel that when you vote for something and you say, "That's what I want done," you've got an obligation to make sure that it gets delivered the way you expected. And what we voted on was not a finished flood map, right? So back in February 2022, what we voted on was a set of policies and a set of conditions that we wanted to do a flood review in, because we had to, because we're getting a new planning scheme. What that plays out like is what you see now. And there was what we didn't want to do was hide from people that flood maps were on. So we didn't have to send out 20,000 letters. That was something we wanted to do. So, and because I knew that would get people to look, and then we would get great feedback from them. We did, very, very direct feedback. So thank you for that.
Well, you wanted raw.
I got raw. It was good.
Do you remember raw?
It was good. They totally rawed. And so your first question was, why did you vote yes? So can you trust me? Yes, because I believe you've got an obligation. If you vote for something and you introduce it, you've got an obligation to make sure you get it right.
And I will just really, really strongly, I don't know how much more strongly I can say this, you are our only shot.
That's right.
You are our actual best shot.
That's right.
So we have to trust you.
That's it. But that doesn't mean you need to trust. Doesn't mean that you get to sit there and be happy about the process.
And trust doesn't mean that we can't keep you accountable.
That's right. I want you to keep me accountable, because when you stay on my case, it motivates me. And this is what I'm focused on. It's what I've given the CEO to do, the directors to do, and driving it through the organisation. And the staff are getting it. They're coming to us going, we can't just take submissions and then ignore them or give them platitudes and pay them lip service. If the community is going to give us thousands of submissions, which is, I reckon, what we're going to get.
Yeah.
That's never happened before in the history of a planning scheme.
No.
So if we get thousands of submissions, we have to listen, we have to change. And so why did I vote for it? Back to that first question.
Yes.
So when it came up, we knew we needed to do it because we're as part of a new planning scheme, you've got to do new flood maps, and there's this risk-based flood mapping, which is what's triggered people so much. But in my experience, before I was a councillor, when I had a real job, I did asbestos removal demolition. I've cleaned up so many flood properties. I've cleaned up properties where people have lost their lives. I've seen what happens when people don't know what's coming with flooding. And that happened in 2011 in Brisbane. 2011 wasn't that big a flood for Logan. It was a huge deal for Brisbane. And I saw
the
it then.
emotion out of it though, because we're not supposed to make emotional decisions as councillors. So let's just take the emotion out of it and let's deal with more that, I mean, essentially from what you told me, they didn't give you all the information. Let's just cut to the chase. They didn't give you all the information. They asked you to vote on something that was only half-assed, pretty much.
I wouldn't say that. The trick is you don't, until they've been given the money and they've done the work, you don't know what the flood map's going to look like. So you set your policies out and go, yep, that's what we want to see. Bring it back to us. Then the challenge becomes, once they come back to it, they're like, hey, we've now got all this information. If you hide that from people, is that ethical? And you're like, and that's where it becomes tricky. And that's where we introduce it as we introduce the first temporary planning instrument, which just brings it in for 2 years. And that's something that the state government has, so that they go, when you know about a risk, you must share it. That doesn't mean it's locked in. The planning scheme is where it gets locked in. That's why this work is so important now. But so why did I vote yes? We weren't voting on flood maps. So I didn't see a flood map and go, yep, I'm happy with that. Nobody did. Yeah. Nobody did. That's the important thing.
That's my half-assed comment.
That's right.
Pretty half-assed.
Yeah, what we voted for was go and do flood maps.
Yeah.
And then bring them back and show us what you've got.
That's right.
And then the other one too, though, is that for a long time, we heard this on Tuesday night, people have said to me, we think developers are building in the floodplain. Right? And I'm like, cool, that means we need better flood mapping. If that's happening, we need better, stronger flood mapping. But to do that, it's got to be realistic data and it's got to be accurate. And that's what I heard from people loud and clear. You're very suspicious on the accuracy of the data and the model that's used. And those are two of the big things that Scotty and I are drilling into the organisation about, going, why are there differences between us and Gold Coast on the Albert River? And why are there differences between what people have hard data points on? So that's debris lines, that's photographic evidence, that's satellite photography from 2022.
Yeah.
So my question to the CEO was, if we can't get the flood model right on a flood that was 3 years ago, how are you going to get the flood model right on a 1 in 2,000 flood event that we've never seen? And meaningful change. And that's what my promise is.
It also needs to come down a key now. I talked to you about de-escalation just a moment ago before we started recording, and I think whether people like it or not, and I'm sorry guys, whether you like this or not, this fella standing here is our best shot, and tearing him down, beating him up is not going to make him strong. It's just going to make him weak, and we need him strong and we need him to fight for us. So, and we need to do it together. That is the only way through this. I mean, we can talk about different ways that we can get behind you. There's submissions. We need to get our submissions in by 31 October. Yep. Jon, what is the best way to do that?
So there's lots of different ways. The easiest way is send an email to council, and it can be whatever you like. I had one that got CC'd in on me, and it's a full-on flood engineers one, with dot points talking about different parts of the planning scheme and the flood model.
A full-on engineer.
I'm not. So, but I've also had other ones where they're like, this is what I saw on my property in 74, because they were there for that. Yep. This is a photo of where I took a photo of the mud line, and you've got this so far above that, it's crazy. That's really valuable too. So whatever you've seen, whatever you want to say, if you think it's inaccurate, if you think it's unfair, all of that is great feedback, because when it comes to the crunch on what do we do with the planning scheme, when we start to get resistance because someone goes, oh, well, the data says this, I'm like, but the community has spoken loud and clear. That is so powerful for us. When it's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 submissions, no one can deny what the community is saying.
And it's not just people jumping up and down, stamping their feet and going, this is bullshit. It actually really is bullshit.
It is?
Because it's not accurate information. It's not representative of, it's risk adverse to its extreme. People are hurting. Yep. These insurance companies are railroading, doubling premiums. It's just becoming a money-making thing.
And the rest, not doubling. Someone said they went from 3,000 to 15,000. Right, that is cool. Crazy. And they were told on the phone, and this is what really gets me too, they're being told on the phone, it's because of your flood maps, and then they say, can you send that to me in writing? And they say no. That's
so
hard.
if your insurance premium is being like that, an outrageous like gouger,
Get them to
you've
send
already
you a quote.
put it out on, Jon's already put it out on his social media. So please send the documented evidence of where that premium has changed. So what are you going to do with that?
So that one, I'll go to the Insurance Council of Australia first, because they told me black and blue, and they were there on Tuesday night saying risk has already been calculated in. They shouldn't be seeing big spikes, but people are telling me otherwise. And I believe my community before I believe
So the
a peak body.
ICC are only a membership body.
That's right.
So they don't actually make legislation.
Exactly.
So
the first step is, this is what I'm seeing. Can you explain it?
Yeah.
And I guarantee that they won't be able to.
Yeah.
Then we go to the regulator.
Yeah.
Then we go to the media and name and shame. So if you're seeing repeated sort of incidents where it's the same insurance companies that are doing a lot of it, I think we should be calling that out so people know what to expect from those insurance companies. And then we go to the government, because ultimately,
because I mean, it's
that's where
great
the
that you're
control
going
is.
to the ICC, and it's great
Yeah.
that they're involved in this process. But at the end of the day, they're only a membership body,
Exactly.
so they don't make legislation.
Yeah, they're just a peak body, right? So email is the easiest way, council@logan.qld.gov.au. You can also email my office and we'll send it through the right people as well, and we'll respond to you to make sure you know it's been done.
So when you say email, this is email in the submission, or just put all your stuff in the email and just send it?
You can just email
the
the submission. All you've got to do when you're emailing it in is say Logan plan submission at the top, and they'll accept it as a valid submission.
Because I've heard a little bit of feedback.
Yep.
I've looked at the submission briefly, because this is all rolled out pretty quickly, so I haven't had a chance to look at the submission in detail, but I've heard a little bit of feedback that it's not that easy. People are struggling to understand how to do it. Is there any sort of support for people
to do
that? Yeah.
So the hardest way to do it is online. And I tried to do it today, and it's about 6 clicks before you get to the submission, then a few more clicks to get in there. So email, or you can send a letter. You can go old school. You can come into any of our customer service centres, and there are people there that'll help you do one, so they'll do it with you. You can call in. So
what if we want a non-council person to help us do it?
Yeah, you can totally do that. So there's a lot of, we've got down at the Logan Village Community Centre, there's volunteers down there who are helping people do it. Neighbours can help neighbours. If you do know someone in your community who's got experience, we heard some great people who are insurance underwriters, or who are
and I mean, that happened in the cyclone, didn't it? I mean, we set up this little centre in the Jimboomba, with volunteers out of the community, at the Jimboomba Hall, and they were helping people in the community and that sort of thing. Because I think, with all due respect, there's a little bit of suspicion around the council and stuff at the moment. There's a bit of council bashing going on. Whether that's justified or unjustified, it just is the way it is. So I think that if people have that option to be going and getting some help from someone who's obviously not council, that might help. Thanks for having a chat. And as I said, I'm probably going to get in trouble, put my neck out there, but this isn't my first rodeo with that.
That's right.
We just need to pull together as a community. Just bring it down, guys. Save your anger for, I don't know, something else later. But being angry and over emotional is certainly understandable, and it's justified, but it's not helping the situation. So
it's a marathon now. It's a marathon now. So on Tuesday night, that was the sprint where you're like, I've got to tell as much of my story as possible. But now it's all the way till the 31st of October on submissions. And then after that before that, the next step is councillors are going to get a briefing on everything that I heard the community say, and that I've asked the organisation to look at. And so they're going to get an early look at what we can do with the low-hanging fruit. There were some great suggestions on the night where I said, yep, we can do that. There's some other
there. So when you're talking about low-hanging fruit, just to be clear, he's not talking about anyone in our community. He's talking about low-hanging
things
fruit.
Things that we can fix in the
things
planning
that he
scheme.
can fix pretty easily. Just want to make that clear, because sometimes your words get and I'm a straight shooter, everyone knows that. So
things that are easy to fix. So the things that are easy to fix in the planning scheme, from suggestions on the night, really good to do. And there's other things that I think will be hard to fix, but I'm going to push really hard on. One of those big ones is people saying that their creeks are flood mapped, and I've got an issue with that. I didn't realise how big an issue it was until Tuesday. That was a big takeaway from me. Of course you're never going to build a house in a dam. Of course you're never going to build a shed in a dam. Why do we flood map it, right? We could just put an overlay on it that stopped anyone from even applying.
Well, it just needs to be reasonable. This is the thing, instead of unreasonable, because at the moment it's out there. It's complete bullshit, really. It's unreasonable. It's not accurate. And also, I just want to talk to you before we go. With the end game is to get all this reviewed, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Well, no, a review isn't the end game, because a review could come up with anything. The end game is to get a planning scheme with flood mapping that is reasonable and that people accept, understand, and can live with. That's end game,
exactly right.
Like the first step is all of this work that we'll do to review things and challenge things. That's really important. Those are the steps on the way. But the end game is getting something that people can accept. Because like you said, Gina, we're never going to get rid of flood mapping.
No, and people need to realise that. You know, like it's not like it's just going to all go, go away. Like you're a genie and you wave your magic wand. It's not going to go away, but it needs to be acceptable. It needs to be reasonable. It needs to be, accurate as well. So. The other thing is too, we don't want to, we've got some noisy boys across here.
Well, they're setting up for flame.
I know, they're setting up for flame. They're excited already. Get off the rum, fellas. So the last thing, we want to do is for the powers that be that we do all the submission, we do all this work, we send you in with the rocket gloves on.
Yep.
And for them to then say, oh yeah, well we've reviewed it and we're not making any changes. So that's not acceptable.
No,
and that's not the end game plan.
That's not what I want to do. That's not. And even talking to staff yesterday and today, they are listening. They're like, we know that you can't listen to people and say, give us a submission, then ignore it. They know that.
And I've been in the building, so the reality is, with all due respect to the staff,
happen sometimes.
They don't actually listen to the community because they're not in the community like we are and like you are. So the community, it's great that you gave the community like a chance, to be heard. And I think too, the other thing that I've noticed with all the people that I've been talking to, because my phone's been blowing up too since it all happened, and I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this, but anyway, we'll step up. Anyway. Here I am. So the thing is that people are very, very focused on their story, and because of this overwhelming need to be heard, and I get that they want to be heard, but let's not get bogged down in this story and that story and this story and that story. You know what? It's all of our stories, everyone's story, and yes, we're listening. I don't need to listen. You need to listen. His ears aren't painted on, guys, so he's fine. He's listening.
Yes.
But so they need to be heard, which is great. But we also need to not get bogged down in, but this is ridiculous. But that is, I've said to 100 people, well, not 100, but a fair few over the last couple of days, when they're telling me their stories about how stupid it is and how ridiculous it is. And I'm like, and Jon agrees with you. That's not what's arguable here. Let's not argue about what's stupid and what's ridiculous because you agree with that. You're on board with that.
That's right.
Let's spend our energy talking about what we can do to fight together to change this.
That's right.
But
examples are still good. So great.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that that's not what's arguable. Like I think there's been a lot of bullets fired at council going, well, how can they think this is reasonable? And you don't think it's reasonable. Right. So
and really important thing for me is those examples are very, very helpful. I found one just this morning where someone said on socials, I'm in Stoneleigh. It says I'm in the 1 in 2,000 floodplain.
I keep talking about those examples. Just don't argue about them.
Give them to me because I found inconsistencies straight away where I went, show me how high the floodwater is in that part of that estate when there's a 1 in 2,000 flood. It said there was none. So two different parts of the map are disagreeing with itself. That's the stuff I want to find, because when I go and say, explain this to me, that puts them in a very difficult position. They go, okay, we need to go back and check that.
And all of those little individual stories are going to stack up.
They are.
To become one big hammer that we can use. So, so guys, we just got to be patient. We don't have to trust blindly. For those of you that are struggling with that, we do need to keep our mayor accountable. He's aware of that and he's welcoming that. So bring it down and let's work together and get this shit sorted, man.
That's right.
Just get it sorted.
And the main message from me is that actions speak louder than words.
Absolutely.
So there's another 8 weeks until the end of October, 7 weeks until the end of October. Then there'll be another 3 or 4 months after that where we're using all of that information you've given us to push for policy change and push for things like reviews and model adjustments. But we're not going to have to
sit around for 3 months and twiddle our thumbs and
go, we'll give you updates.
What's happening? That's right. That's exactly right.
After 14th of October is when councillors get that early look. After they get that update, I'll give you an update. End consultation period, we'll be talking to you about how many we got, what the early sweep of what that looks like is, and then every time I go into bat for you and we get change and progress, I'll give you an update on that too. The big show is when we vote for the planning.
And he's not just trying to get page likes, see that?
No, no.
You don't feel like his page to...
No, you don't. The big show is when we vote for the planning scheme, right?
Yeah,
and I said to the CEO loud and clear, I said, after that town hall meeting, I reckon if you tried to get us to vote for this thing tomorrow, no one would support it.
Yeah.
And that's a massive deal if the planning scheme doesn't get supported. So I want to tell you that the organisation is on notice, councillors and the mayor are on notice, we're listening, and we want to make meaningful differences so that you can accept what's happening and believe it. Like, you got to look at it and go, yep, that seems reasonable, right? I might not love having a flood mark on my property, but it's got to be believable, right?
But we're a long way from that, like right now.
Let's do some progress.
And I guess at the end of the day, I'm just gonna, put it out there, asking the community to trust you.
Yep.
And that's a big thing for me.
It is, because we have not always seen eye to eye on stuff.
We haven't. Yeah, we've had a few stouches.
And we don't pull our punches when we have blues with each other.
No, because I don't punch at all. I just sit on him because I'm fatter than you. So it's just like, just hit nails. Anyway, all right. Thanks for the chat.
No, thanks, Shanna. Appreciate it.